Nora Speaks is a weekly podcast that tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community. With show topics such as youth empowerment, education, women's impact, and civic engagement, Nora Speaks challenges the listener to not only join the movement, but be the movement. On the show, you'll learn from insightful guests who have demonstrated capacity in these fields and more, and I'm your host, Nora Muhammad. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast, and I am your host, Nora Muhammad. Thank you for joining me, being back for another episode. I'm very excited to have this conversation on the podcast. There's so many things that I believe we need to address in our community. There's so many conversations that should be had, and I'm grateful to have this podcast as a platform to share thoughts, ideas, information, resources, and interviews from people who are doing great work. I don't think that we can speak too much on the problems that our community is facing. There's plenty of outlets for entertainment and laughs and enjoyment, but sometimes we have to sit still and have conversations, or sit still and listen, sit still and read a book, or sit still and create a plan, sit still and work in unity with others so that we can accomplish the goals that will improve outcomes, improve the condition of our women, our children, our men, our schools, our environment. And I'm grateful again to have this podcast as such a platform. And this episode, I'm going to be specifically talking about the condition of our sisters, of the Black woman. And if this is your first time listening, you should know that this is a podcast dedicated to our community, the Black community. It's a podcast that the content is specifically about improving our outcomes. And so that's what you get when you tune in to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. And as I said, this episode is really dedicated to the Black woman. And I should also say that every episode is really dedicated to the Black woman, the Black man, the Black child, the Black family, because I can't talk about conditions related to the Black woman without those conditions also impacting the Black man. I cannot talk about the conditions impacting Black children without those conditions also impacting the Black woman in our community, and so on and so on. So even though the subject might be such as it is, but this really is a show that's dedicated comprehensively to the needs and addressing and improving our community. And so a wise teacher once said about Black people in America, specifically descendants of American slavery. He said that we have been made, quote, a degree below nothing. A degree below nothing. That is such a harsh thing to say. It's a harsh thing to hear. It's a harsh thing to know. However, there's so much truth in that statement. That statement is accurate. And we can broaden this out and talk about our community as a whole, our families, the Black man, the Black woman, the Black child. However, specifically, I want to talk about this statement as it relates to the Black woman in America, a degree below nothing. And I see this manifest in the behavior that we exhibit in our community. We can, without straining, without trying too hard, we will see the Black woman engaged in savage behavior. Now, I'm a Black woman, and so what I'm going to share is about us. I don't separate out myself when I'm talking about the condition of our people, and specifically not the Black woman. So I'm talking about us, and so I'm going to say some things that may be harsh, but that are factual. And I'm saying things that we have to confront and we have to address. And today I'm talking about the savage behavior of the Black woman. And we celebrate the savage behavior of our women. We, Black women, we parade in public just about nude. And we praise each other for doing it. And then we have the audacity to attack anyone who dares encourage the Black woman to be virtuous. And it's as if we have no right to pull our sisters towards moral behavior. We are attacked for it. There's been so many instances in recent times, and just, we see what's happening with celebrities, and often that becomes the fodder for conversation. So I'll use examples here because I'm sure that you'll be familiar with the examples that I talk about. We can think about Keke Palmer and the tweet, Instagram post, or whatever that the father of her child posted. He said, you're a mother, or something like that. You're a mother now. And when people came, and he said that as a result of Keke Palmer coming out in public, I believe it was at an Usher concert, in something that he thought was not suitable or fitting for a woman who holds such a distinguished title as mother. And, our people came after him, specifically Black women came after this brother. And then he came out in response and said, look, I'm trying to protect my family. And the assault continued against this brother. And sisters, we celebrate. We celebrated. The same thing happened with India Arie when she made comments about Megan Thee Stallion and Janelle Monáe's performance at Essence Fest. And they came after India Arie for suggesting anything or something about Black women doing better. How dare we attack our own people when we are trying to pull on the consciousness, pull on the virtue, or pull the virtue out of the Black woman. So yeah, we get on stage and, we're wearing cat suits or even less than cat suits. We're making music videos. We're going to football games. We're going to basketball games, and we parade around in these costumes, stripper costumes, I might say, and we celebrate it and we say, wow, she's a bad bee. What are we saying about ourselves that we're going to celebrate something that's indecent, something that I have to say is not moral? Morality is us holding each other accountable to help create the conditions in our community that's going to promote success. That is morality. And I know that we have a very flexible relationship with morality in America. And we've been allowed to have a flexible relationship with morality in America. We want the police to be moral, right? We want them to act moral. We want the judge to be moral. We want the attorneys to be moral. We want the bankers who we bank with to be moral. But we ourselves are not held to that standard. Well, why not? Right? So we parade in public. Our language, the language that we use in public, is coarse and vulgar. Now, listen, if you're behind closed doors, you say what you say. We should always want to speak well, especially to our family members, to our children, to our husbands. We want to, use words that encourage and uplift, even if we are speaking in condemnation of something, right? Even if we're disciplining our children, even if we're telling our spouse the concerns or the issues that we have with his behavior, his words, or whatever, right? We can still speak decently to each other. Yet in public, our language is coarse and vulgar. As Black women, we costume ourselves in wigs, weaves, makeup, and it's like we are playing the part of a character, but we're not on stage, right? And as Black women, we despise our men. The Black woman despises the Black man. And when we're raising our boys, we're feminizing them. Now, I am not specifically talking about homosexuality. What I'm talking about are the ways that Black women raise our boys. Specifically, this happens when there's no strong male figure in the home. When we raise our boys, we tend to be ourselves as women. In some cases, we may overemphasize emotions and emotionalism. And when we're raising our Black boys, we confine their masculinity. And so when they are expressing thoughts or behaviors that are naturally masculine, we shut that down. Because we have never been boys, we have never experienced what it is to develop as a boy, we don't always recognize that their thoughts and actions are just natural to their development, and we attack it. And so when our boys become adolescents and they have conflict with other males who have also been feminized, these boys are not tough enough for a one-on-one street fight. They're afraid to lose, and embarrassment is just too high a price to pay. So they shoot and they kill each other, and they lack a value of life. In many respects, we are raising our girls to be tougher than our boys. As Black women, we think that being humble is weakness. We think that being modest is repressive. And we think that our value as women is in sex or hustle, or maybe I could add education. As Black women, we have been made a degree below nothing because we don't know ourselves. And so what I just described is us misappropriating behaviors, thoughts, and attitudes that do not align with our nature or our value as Black women. What we are witnessing right now is a destroyed Black woman in mind. We are not thinking in a way that promotes the strength of our community and the strength of our families. Now, you may say, well, look, Nora, I don't know who you're talking to because this doesn't apply to me. Well, if it doesn't apply to you, that's great. Share this episode with somebody who you think it does apply to. We are in a state of emergency as Black women. Like I said, we celebrate behavior, savage behavior. We celebrate the limits that we're pushing. And I mentioned some entertainers, and it's not that I want to bang on our entertainers, but they're some of the most easily accessible examples of the behaviors that I'm describing. And I don't know, it's really unreal. It's really unreal. I remember, years ago, it was, if a girl was caught with fake hair, she was kind of mocked, ridiculed. That was something that people on stage did. What are you doing walking around here in 8th grade with a weave that you're gluing on your scalp? What is this, right? And now our girls are costuming themselves. They're not going to go outside to the mailbox without their makeup, without their weave, without their wig, or they have to have a bonnet on so that they can cover it up. We just don't love ourselves. We don't know ourselves. We are hiding ourselves. The development that should be happening should be an internal development of strength and character. But when we see our sisters showing loose character and loose values, we're not allowed to say anything. We're not allowed to say, sister, you're better than this. Sister, you deserve better than this. But we're condemned when we speak against it. A degree below nothing. Now, listen, you may say, I said a wise teacher said this. In fact, it was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that said this. And you may say, well, you're a Muslim and this is just what you believe as Muslim. Well, let me tell you what your Caucasian, our Caucasian slave master said about us. And this quote that I'm going to share with you is from a member of the Virginia House of Delegates, Henry Berry. And this is what he said while he was speaking to the Virginia House of Delegates. And I quote, "We have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which light may enter the slave's mind. If we could extinguish the capacity to see the light, our work would be complete. They would then be on a level with the beasts of the field, and we should be safe." Quote. Let me repeat this for you. This is what Henry Berry said, a slave master, speaking at the Virginia House of Delegates. "We have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which light may enter the slave's mind. If we could extinguish the capacity to see the light, our work would be complete. They would then be on a level with the beasts of the field, and we should be safe." So it is not just a Muslim thing that I'm telling you. I'm saying that this condition that we find ourselves in, a degree below nothing, this isn't by accident. This was with intent. This was with forethought. This was done systematically, that we have reached such a low condition as Black women, right? And we like to say things, we're the mother of civilization. We like to say things like, "Hey, queen," "Yes, queen." Well, do we conduct ourselves as queen? We certainly don't. We certainly don't. A queen is dignified. A queen is regal. A queen is esteemed and respected and self-respecting. And the way that we see our women portraying themselves, degrading themselves, there's nothing respectable about this. However, we understand now that we can go back in history, we can uncover the intention of our slave masters to close every avenue by which light can enter our minds. And if they could extinguish our capacity to see the light, their work would be complete. We'd be on the level of the beast of the field, and they should be safe. Well, I'll say they are certainly safe today. The Black woman needs a resurrection. We need to know ourselves, love ourselves, do better. And we cannot be quiet when we see our sisters exhibiting savage behavior that is beneath the defining quality of what it is to be a Black woman. We cannot be quiet, no matter who says what. And I'm not going to be quiet about it, because I love Black women. I love my sisters. And I hope that this message has resonated with you. A degree below nothing. When the world looks at us, it's hard to have pity on the people who treat themselves so poorly. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Until next time, stay in peace.
We were brought here as a piece of property, and to keep that piece of property, it is to not allow the property to know the value of the property. What I mean by that, if you had known the history of yourself, you would not have been made a slave. And you won't be a slave now if you have a knowledge of yourself. It's hard to enslave a person that have equal knowledge with you. You just can't do it. And so this knowledge of yourself is the thing that will free you from what you have been suffering from.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Be on the lookout for a new episode coming at you fresh next week. And as always, if you want to learn more about me and the work that I do, visit my website, norahmuhammad.com. Or if you have a listener question, email me at info@norahspeaks.com. You can also follow the Nora Speaks podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nora Speaks Podcast. I'll be sure to include links in the show notes. If this show has value to you, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with family and friends. And be sure to check out previous episodes. And remember, don't just join the movement, be the movement. Stay in peace.